Happy October, observers of otherworldly objects. I'm Science Ben, your host for a tour of this month's sky and sky happenings. September ended with the successful return to Earth of samples of the asteroid Bennu aboard the spacecraft OSIRIS-REx. For more on that, check out last month's void. The month also ended with return to Earth of astronaut Frank Rubio, who has spent the past 371 days aboard the International Space Station, the longest time in space for any American. We'll discover more about a year spent in space in the latter half of our discussion, but let's begin by transporting outside and look it up. Here in the backyard of the Danville Science Center, just behind the digital planetarium, the Dome, we discover the noon sky of Tuesday, October the 10th, 2023. If you were awake early this morning, around 6:30 a.m., briefly before sunrise, then you may have spotted a sliver of a waning crescent moon in the east. The bright star near it is actually the brightest planet, Venus, which reached lunar conjunction this morning. The second brightest planet, Jupiter, can be spotted in the west, with familiar winter constellation Orion the Hunter between the two planets. Orion will continue to rise in the sky until it pushes its eternal enemy Scorpius the Scorpion past the horizon until summer, when Orion again disappears. Orion's appearance brings with it the Oridid meteor shower. As the night of the 20th transitions into the morning of the 21st, a first quarter moon will set for the evening, leaving dark skies for an estimated 14 meteors an hour during peak viewing times, which is 6 a.m. Sorry. For those that prefer evening viewing, the mislabeled ring planet Saturn, it's not the only planet with rings, Saturn has been visible for about 40 minutes after sunset since the beginning of the month and will continue to be visible earlier and earlier in the evening before disappearing at month's end. A portion of the sun will disappear from the sky briefly this Saturday when the moon passes in front of it. Visible throughout America, Danville will experience a maximum of 36% coverage between 2 to 2:30 p.m. during this month's annular solar eclipse. Eclipses happen when the sun, moon, and Earth are aligned in a straight line. During solar eclipses, the moon passes in the middle between the sun and us, blocking out the sun's light. During an annular solar eclipse, the moon does not completely cover the sun's disk, leaving a thin outer ring of fire known as an annulus. Each time the moon orbits the Earth, it comes close to the sun in the sky as it passes new moon. If the moon orbited the Earth in exactly the same plane that the Earth orbits the sun, then we'd experience monthly solar eclipses at new moon. However, the moon's orbit is slightly tipped up at 5 degrees relative to Earth-Sun orbit, making alignment between the three uncommon. The moon passes through the Earth-Sun orbital plane twice each month at 2 different nodes. If one of these passings coincides with a new moon, then a solar eclipse occurs. This happens roughly every 6 months or twice a year. The moon and sun only appear so large in the sky, so eclipses are not always visible from our part of the Earth. This makes viewing an eclipse an uncommon thing. That is, unless you're astronaut Frank Rubio. Rubio has surely had unique views for both solar eclipses that have taken place over the past 12 months. The ISS completes an orbit of the Earth every 90 minutes, placing Rubio in an ideal observation location during his past year in space. Rubio would have viewed both the Canadian and Hawaiian wildfires, Hurricane Idalia, and potentially another $20 billion weather and climate change disasters that have each occurred during his time in space. The 47-year-old did not know that he would be spending more than a year aboard the space station when he originally launched from Kazakhstan on September 21st, 2022. The expectation was for a 6-month mission duration. However, when Rubio and 2 adjoining cosmonauts were originally scheduled to return to terra firma, a coolant leak was discovered in the Suez capsule meant for the trip. It would be another 6 months before a replacement capsule would become available for their actual return home. This extended stay allowed Rubio to perform not 1, but 3 extravehicular spacewalks and exposed him to 30 other space explorers, including the 2 Russians who joined him for the final return trip. He completed 5,936 trips around the Earth, traveling over 157,000 miles, roughly the same as 328 round trips to the moon and back. Such an excursion is not without its risks, obviously. Rubio is the first American to spend this long of a continuous span of time in space. Naturally, one of the first things he received on his return was a full medical exam. Prolonged time in space can be hard both physically and psychologically. Decrease in muscle mass resulting from time spent in microgravity is well documented. This is due to decreased use, so astronauts compensate with regular exercise routines. Neurovestibular challenges, or how the body maintains a sense of position and balance, are also common with gravity changes. One medical professional explained, how do you coordinate movement like walking, which you haven't done for a long period of time, and the idea of balance? Adding, the longer the mission, the longer it can take to acclimate when they land on Earth. 6-month missions generally take 2 to 3 days, but it will likely take Rubio even longer to relearn how to walk. In microgravity, blood shifts upward from the lower extremities to the head and eyes. This can result in eye and brain structural changes in what is known as spaceflight-associated neuroocular syndrome. Permanent vision impairment can result. A year spent isolated in a closed environment can cause not only behavior changes and recurring fatigue, but changes to astronauts' immune system. After spending 340 days in space in 2016, astronaut Scott Kelly experienced changes in his genes, including those related to immunity functions, though those changes resolve themselves over time. Dr. Jennifer Fogarty, the former chief scientist of the NASA Human Research Program, has also addressed sensory deprivation concerns, stating, anywhere where you don't have the smell of the grass, of the rain, or the colors to look at water versus the mountains, when your choices are very limited, can make life more difficult. Fogarty went on to explain that this is why it is so important that the right people are trained not just to go into space, but to care for those explorers upon their return. Please don't wait 371 days for your next sky viewing. In fact, why not go see what's happening right now? In roughly 30 days, we'll have our next discussion of stellar sights, how they inspire us, and what we can look forward to in the future. Join us the second Tuesday of November, November the 14th, 2023. Thank you for watching, and keep discovering. Bye.